bet. So again,
Hey, Ben.
hello everyone. Again, my name is Dao Campe. This is Off the Clock. But before we dive into Off the Clock and just what it is, again, I want to introduce, a special individual that first has educated me about a space that I'm still continuing to learn about in my, role in space, and is also impacting sports and just the trajectory of student athletes in a huge and amazing way. So if you could introduce yourself real quick.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Hicklin. I'm originally from Prince George's County, Maryland. I attended High Point University, where I got my undergrad degree in business administration, as well as my master's. Oh, it got mad loud. Give me 2 seconds. Hold on.
You're good.
All right, sorry about that. Close the door. But like I said, my name is David Hicklin. I'm originally from Marlboro, Maryland, PG County. I attended High Point University, where I got my undergrad degree in business administration with a minor in sport management, and I also got my master's degree, my MBA in business administration. And just a little bit about me, love sports. I've had a passion for sports all my life, but in school, I really found that passion for service and wanting to help others attending High Point University, just being a PWI in the South, I felt that there was a need for an advocacy organization that really stood up and was that voice for our minority community on campus. So, in finding that need, addressing that gap, I became the founder and president of High Point University's NAACP chapter. And in doing that, I just dove headfirst into a world of service, advocacy, political action, and I was really able to realize that service is my passion, my reason, my calling, and just wanting to continue that following my departure from High Point University. Been trying to find ways to, blend passion and sports together. Cut out for a second. Find ways to just combine my passion for service and sports. And that's a little bit about me and where I'm at now. I'm currently working at Seed School in Washington, D.C., where I'm helping, the youth, helping prepare them for their next step in college. And yeah, it's a little bit about me, and I'm excited to be here.
No, man. And first, thank you. And I think kind of the biggest thing about creating spaces is the fact that, like, in those moments, we see areas that we can improve upon and areas that we want to impact in a positive way. And just taking that first step forward is something that's huge and actually amazing in what you did, and also continuing with what you're doing. So let me ask you this from a My bad. I had some couple things going on, but to go back to that, let me ask you this: what is something about being a leader that are some qualities that you're kind of taking with you as you're going around your or going about your journey?
Um, Oh man, since I was a little kid, elementary school, middle school, my mom every day told me be a leader, not a follower. And I think as far as leadership qualities, like it sounds cliche, it sounds easy, but just knowing you're not the smartest person in the room, not being afraid to ask questions, like, and authentically being myself. And like, I think one thing that I learned in college about being a leader is that you can create your own opportunities. I think a lot of times people feel like they're pigeonholed to a certain role or a certain group or company or organization. But I think I really learned that if you have intentional conversations and you go about building relationships the right way, not just getting stuff from people, that like you can create programs, you can create opportunities, you can create the systems, you can genuinely be the change that you want to see. And I'm still navigating that now, but I would say that like you can be the change that you want to see. You just have to be intentional about it. And yeah.
No, I love that, man. I love that because, like you said, like, and especially like being that certain change, it takes like a lot of courage to like do that, especially from a perspective of people's opinions, your own self-doubts, like also, maybe in some cases not trying to copy others, but like being able to like step on your own and like take that, that next step is huge. And it actually helps me to transition into our topic today. when we're talking about leadership and, future leaders, because we see that a lot within the NIL, the student, athlete space. They're their own personal leaders, and they're again having to represent and create their brand that allows them to more importantly showcase their skills, but showcase like their next steps going forward. So to kind of, since I brought up the word NIL, if you could just talk to us about like what exactly is NIL?
So just being frank, NIL is just this, it's a lot of different things. And there's a lot of confusion around what it is, whether it's revenue sharing, whether it's players getting deals from their schools, pay to play, just getting money from brands specifically. NIL has just allowed players to profit off their name, image, and likeness and their ability on the field, court, or whatever sport they're in. Um, and in my NIL studies, really, the main thing that I feel like I've identified is the gap in education. And whether it's the schools not educating the players, whether it's certain brands not educating the players, or the NCAA itself failing to provide those resources that educate the players, they don't want to because it doesn't benefit them. And I think just what we're going to see more of in the future is players trying to find their own NIL education, maybe players relying on family or trusted sources to make certain deals, opposed to just trusting athletic programs, trusting schools. But it's a blessing and a curse. I'm happy that these players are able to, make money and create generational wealth, but the lack of education is genuinely scary from, them signing deals that they don't fully understand to them not knowing what to do with the money when they get it. Because as we know, not everybody's going pro. So, opinion on NIL is, I'm happy for the players, but there has to be more education about what goes into these deals.
So along the lines of education and like more importantly, the blessings and the curses of this NIL space. Again, it started in July 2021. I did a little bit of research about, the NCAA kind of rolled it out a little bit. When it came to like, I'll say that decision, quote unquote, what is, I guess, give me like two blessings and two curses of like this rolled out for players. Like if I'm a player, like what should I be excited for, and what should I also like look out for within these contracts, if that makes sense.
That's a good. No, it does make sense. I think as a player, you have to be aware of the law changes. There's not necessarily a federal like regulation, or there's no collective bargaining in the NCAA. And if that was possible, it would make things a little bit clearer, a little bit more transparent. But I think one thing to be like aware of is just how the law is going to impact these. Like we see examples of cases all the time where people get eligibility sometimes they don't. You just really have to be aware of what's going on and how that may affect you because there are a lot of inconsistencies in just how things are handled. And then like the benefit obviously is just them being able to get paid whether it's through whether it's through revenue sharing or third party affiliates. I think it's just it's a blessing that they're able to get paid, but they need to be able to read their contracts, understand where their money is really coming from, understand whether their deals are pay to play or is it based on a marketing campaign they're doing. Um, a lot of these athletes, I'm not gonna say they don't care, but sometimes they don't have the time or the bandwidth to put energy towards that. So I think the emphasis is just the players, the schools, the athletic programs, just educating the athletes on what's going on. And like I said, they don't want to educate them because that, makes it easier to profit off them sometimes. But we got to educate the athletes that are, bringing millions to these universities.
Let me take a step back and ask you this. When you were first, because you talked a little bit about your project, could you talk a little bit more about like what kind of that project when you were in school and learn about NIL like detail? Like what was that about?
I got you. So the project that I did, I was a part of Learfield's Edge Academy, and we were tasked with, just researching NIL and the future of it and what we think, how we think we could improve it. And, in this project, not only did we do our proper research and educate, but that's where we identified that the main gap was education. I talked to Learfield's own Solly Folk. Learfield is huge in college sports. They work with, all of the top partners in marketing and things of that nature. But we
Mhm.
talked to Learfield Solly Folk, and he just helped us, how do I say, like, let me reference this document because I got it. But
Yeah.
he really helped explain how he helped explain the gap, how athletic departments think it's on the school to educate the players, and how the school thinks it's on the athletic departments, and nobody is necessarily actually doing the work.
Mhm.
So, my project, when I work with my group members, our goal was are we going to address this problem? There's no standardized NIL education. So, one thing that we propose would be an education framework, a structured foundational curriculum that all NCAA schools have, and it requires annual participation in a pass-fail format. So let's say you're going into your second year and you're a college football player. If you want to play on the field that year, you have to take at least one class each semester, pass fail, that teaches you about the systems you're a part of, that teaches you about the landscape, that might teach you about the deals that your conference has made, that, it's so many trickle down effects. Like if the ACC made a deal, that goes into your school, and then the school breaks that down amongst its athletic departments, and then you get a portion, just explaining how you actually are making money in some of these ways. And we decided that the best way to do that would be if there is a standardized class that all NCAA entities could, have pass fail, and it should be a requirement for our players to take that class. I feel like if they're interested in playing at the highest level, making the money that they want to make, and continuing not only financial success but playing success. I think it's just important that they get that education as a part of what they're doing.
Amen. Dang. Okay. So, and within that education, let me ask you this. Like,
Hmm.
I know a lot of times when I was in school, like we, you read a book or you take a test, but you study for the test and you don't study for life. How would you kind of ensure that like a player is really not doing this just to pass the class, but also like, they're doing this to have that education? Or do you think it just falls on them to take it seriously? What's your take about that?
It's both because I do want to say it's not like there are no organizations trying to educate players, but like you said, a lot of times, like you go to a conference or you go to these 1 day seminars and it's in one ear and you think heavy about it for that 1 day, and the
Yeah.
next day you go to practice and you forget. I think the goal with this framework is to keep it consistent enough so that it's constantly on their mind, constantly on their mind.
Hmm.
And the truth of the matter is, like, we know that players, coaches, and administrators have so many priorities, but the buy-in has to start from the top. The athletic director has to be bought into making sure they prepare their players for life before and after NIL and during.
Hmm.
And it also falls on the head coach. It falls on the assistant coach. And it's not necessarily drilling it into them, but it's you got to build intentional relationships, one, so people don't think they're just telling them what to do with their money, but two, like the people that control the minutes, the best players on the team, the captains, the leaders, the faces of the university have to genuinely buy in
Hmm.
and just show that it's a priority. And there are examples of some schools like doing more, or some organizations showing that it is a priority. We just need to see more of it so that, we can avoid some of these issues.
I got you. I got you. So I want to ask you like a couple more questions about NIL. When it comes to when I first think about the NIL space and like big players receiving, money, I think about Shador Sanders. who's,
Mhm.
has I don't really know exactly what brand deals he has, but I know, hey, he's a top signed athlete or was a top signed athlete during in college and sports and stuff like that. Is that the case
Mhm.
for a lot of players, or is it like is there a big, I'll say, margin of like you have some players making the millions and then some players that are kind of trying to find those deals and actively searching for those deals?
So you're asking me like, you're asking me like, how does like Shador compare to like I guess other collegiate athletes?
Exactly, yeah.
In that aspect,
Hmm.
well, Shador is very popular. He's the son of Deion Sanders.
Hmm.
But one thing that we can speak to is that Deion is highly educated and he's not scared to speak out in this space. And I feel like one thing Deion has done is he makes sure his athlete Shador knows what's going on. I'm sure he's well caught up on all the rules and how like the school deals like, and he was also the head coach. So at the time when Shador was playing, so like I think Shador's camp, his family, the people he has around him did a good job of educating him on how to go about certain things.
Hmm.
Now, like just being frank, when you're a starting quarterback in the NCAA, you're definitely looking at a different you're looking at different deals, different opportunities than the players in the trenches, than your linemen and your defensive linemen. And in addition to that, football players have on helmets. Shadur is probably one of the more popular college athletes that we've seen him in recent years, but a lot of these college football players don't know necessarily how to create their own brand. Some of them are only taking the opportunities that come their way. But like I said earlier, they're not exactly focused on or sure how to create their own opportunities.
Hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of that education can like come into fruition. Like Shador's linemen probably had more opportunities than they were aware of. But if there's nobody in their camp telling them, reach out here, or this person is, or, um, tell your story through the media or social media, it's just difficult. I think, and I'm glad that I got to that. I think a large part of this NIL piece for all athletes has to do with storytelling. Storytelling is what gets brands and schools. It's what gets people interested in who you are and what you stand for. And I think a lot of these players have negative connotations in the media, or like they're trying to spin this, they're trying to create this story. But as polarizing as Shador was, he told his own story and he kind of took the bull by the horn in that aspect. And I think you will see a lot more college athletes, especially with strong personalities,
Hmm.
use their platforms to tell their stories. But I think storytelling is something that like our athletes really need to learn how to do to maximize opportunities and like I said, create their own narratives,
Yeah. No.
make sure their story is told the way that they want it to be told.
Do you think that if I'm like a sports agency, like do you think I and this kind of, let me first phrase it like this. Right now, we're in a space where, like you're talking about, social media is impacting the identity of the player, the storytelling of the player, and more importantly, how, their sport is represented. We see a lot of times like a, I'll say a NC, like a basketball player that used to play pro is now able to go back and play in college ball. Do you think NIL is going to get impacted in that sort of way where we see pro athletes now come back down to, the college and athletic level get impacted by these deals? Or do you think that there needs to be, or is going to be some sort of stipulation or rules put into place to like, I guess, keep that at a minimum?
I believe there is going to be rules put into place, and as we see, it's chaotic, but they're trying to get the eligibility rules under wraps.
Hmm.
But to touch on the agency piece, I've worked with one agency. I recently was a part of Octagon's Career Accelerator program, and Octagon, they pride themselves on making sure that their players know what's going on. Like I do believe agencies, good agencies, take that responsibility of educating the players in ways that the schools and the athletic departments don't. But there's also plenty of individual agents or just corrupt agencies that just want their 5% from a bunch of different people and don't care. But the strong agencies really do what they can to educate all of their clients. Now, to your second point, once because there is so much chaos in the eligibility scene right now, I think we will see a lot of players forego league chances or, why would I risk being a second round, a late pick in any sport when my school is giving me guaranteed money to do this? I think that like whether it's men's sports, women's sports, I think we'll see a lot more college athletes weigh that decision more heavily instead of going pro. Like we see, older seniors or just seasoned college players that they probably could play overseas, or you might be an undrafted free agent, or you might even get picked. But if your ACC, SEC, Big Ten school has the funds to retain you, then sometimes that's the better financial decision. So I definitely think we'll see more players. I think initially, I think over time it's changed. The goal was to go pro,
Mhm.
but with the amount of money that these schools are generating, they already are pro. And it really does change the decision. Like these rookies in the NBA and the NFL, they come in making more money than some of the vets have made their whole careers.
Yeah.
And it's just a sign of the times changing. It's not, so it changes the decision. It changes the decision a lot.
Amen. Amen. So along the lines of big decision making, where do you also see NIL like growing into or evolving into within the next like 5 years?
I think eventually they're going to want a collective bargaining agreement. And I think that would just essentially like just make things a little bit more clearer. I think the law, the landscape, like the NCAA is just gonna have to get a much better understanding of this, and they're gonna have to crack down on some of the inconsistencies,
Mhm.
whether it's players going and coming back, whether it's players in scandals for like gambling, like that one player, they gave him his eligibility back. Whether it's the eligibility in itself, like the class of 2022 just got an extra year. I think within the next 5 years, the NCAA is going to be forced to crack down and just reinforce a lot of the rules that haven't been there, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. And I also think that we're going to see a lot, the transfer portal is going to remain active and a hot topic. I think we're going to see less and less players stay at one school. We see a lot of bag chasing, just to call it what it is. So I believe once the NCAA gets a better hold on that, then hopefully we can go back to seeing players, maybe stay their career, more players stay at one place for the entirety of the careers, then hopefully graduate more too. This NIL, the money has completely thrown the focus away from education. Like they were student athletes first, at least on paper, at least, but now it's like not even hidden. Like they're athlete students, and hopefully once this landscape becomes less chaotic, we can focus more on graduation rates.
Amen. Yeah. No, I appreciate that because I think again, education is the focus. Like education gets you the knowledge you need to really get to that next step. So, and I love that. So I want to talk about, we talked about NIL. I want to talk about you and being in this sports
Yeah.
and being in the industry. You mentioned that Octagon, you mentioned a project with an NIL agency. Could you remind me that name one more time? I just want to make sure we get it right.
No, it was so the capstone project I did about NIL education was with Learfield, and then I recently was a part of Octagon's Career Accelerator program, where me and my group we created a pitch for one of their NIL clients to partner with the brand, and we like created a marketing campaign and we picked out our KPIs and like decided how that pitch would not only elevate his brand but elevate Affirm as well. Affirm is the brand that we use, the buy now, pay later platform. So yeah, we just created a project that kind of mixed the two and pitched our client as a strong representative for Affirm.
So I wanted you to highlight those just couple of names because that's the fact that that's the journey so far is crazy, because again, the sports industry is a space where like we're constantly trying to figure out how do we get into it, how do we start. So for you, like, how did you, once you got there, what steps did you kind of take to, be there, remain there?
Man, and truth be told, like I'm 23 years old, I'm young. Some days I feel like I'm in the space, I got my foot in the door. Other days it feels like I'm on the outside looking in. But I think what what people are what people are missing, what took me a while to learn is like the follow-up game, the stand and touch game. Like it's 2026. If you only talk to somebody every time you see them, unless you're seeing them once a week, you're not gonna have a real relationship with them. You have to be able to hop on the phone and call people. You have to be able to email people. And it might feel repetitive, it might feel um like just stressful at times. But I think one thing that I've improved on a lot is following up, is being active on LinkedIn, showing people what I'm doing, and just having as many conversations as possible, telling people what I want to do. When I get a role, telling people, hey, I've had success. Thank you. Like not forgetting about somebody as soon as you do get an opportunity you want. And although sometimes like you may want something out of it, it's not about being transactional. I think a lot of people get taught how to network, but they don't get taught how to build relationships. And there's a difference between the two. And I think my relationship building skills have improved over time. And yeah, I've just been blessed with some strong opportunities. Like when I first got into sports, my first role in sports was with Learfield and with Wake Forest Sports Properties. And I was an intern in college, and I'm thinking like, okay, I'm gonna be good, da 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 da. But I ended up doing Learfield Edge Academy once I graduated with my master's years later because I wasn't where I wanted to be. The door was hard to get into. So like, I think that's a good lesson about like I spun back on my Learfield friends. Hey, yeah, I want to talk to, do you know this person? Do you know this person? Do you know this person? Like before I got accepted in the Learfield Edge Academy,
Yeah.
I had plenty of conversations with people running it, with my old supervisors, with people who are a part of it, so that when I submitted my application, it wasn't a who is this? Oh, did he work for us? When did he? No, somebody already knew. So it's just about like being super intentional and like I didn't call them and like I want to be a part of this program. No, I called them and said, hey, I worked with you guys in the past. I'm looking to do this. Do you have any tips? Can I volunteer? How can I support you guys? And it just apply for this. This will be a good. So knowing that people out here want to support you, want to help you, and not being scared to ask for that help. And if they can't help you right now, so keep in touch. Maybe they can in the future. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, man. I love that. And like you said, I love the fact when you highlighted networking as, again, not a one-off transactional exchange, but like a relationship. Like you're trying to connect with somebody, you're trying to get to know somebody. Like, and I think a lot of times within that networking sense, we can feel that level of like, dang, like I don't want to do too much, but then I don't want to do too little. Like how do you judge that for yourself?
I put not put myself out there. I ask to volunteer a lot. People are a lot more. Everybody wants to know how they're going to get their back scratched, for lack of better words. So when I ask to volunteer, um, that kind of puts everybody's guard down. Oh, he's not just asking me for a job. He's not just asking me for a connection. He wants to help me.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna put him in a position to help me. Okay, he helped me. How can I help him? So like I think literally trying to knowing I'm not everything is going to be yes, but trying to just position myself in spaces where people want to help me is one thing. And then another thing that I've been not struggling with, but I've been learning over the past couple of years is navigating no, dealing with the word no, knowing no is not always so final, even though it can feel like that dagger in the heart. A lot of times, no could be not right now, not yet. Or if you are told no, okay, how can I make this a yes? And that's not being rude or disingenuous, but navigating no is a real skill, and there's always a way to make stuff happen, whether it's through a conversation, whether it's through a real relationship, whether it's asking somebody else. Dealing with no and navigating that has definitely been something that's been helpful for me, and I think it's a skill that people our age should practice.
Amen. Man, I just want to say this because we got 1 minute on the clock. And I want to say first,
Hmm.
thank you um, for first providing me game about a space that I'm still continuing to learn about. And then second, just that idea of like not allowing the no to dictate your life. Because I think a lot of times we kind of get caught up with that feeling of no. So I just want to first thank you for, being on off the clock. This is not going to be the last time we're going to do more discussions about sports, about NIL, about the space. So thank you. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Nah, 100%. We locked in, man.